questions right now for women who are starting to date. So they're asking me some dating questions. So I have been seeing a man for a few months, but he doesn't introduce me to his friends or family. What do I do? First of all, ask yourself, how do you feel about this person and how serious is your relationship? Because if you've been seeing him for a few months and he hasn't introduced you to either friends or family, I'd be a little bit wary about that. I mean, I'd start to wonder, okay, is this relationship serious? You know what? First, you have to ask yourself, what is the status of your relationship? And what do you want the status of your relationship to be? Have you talked with this man about commitment? Are you in a committed relationship? That's number one. The thing with being in a committed relationship is it's something that usually has to be discussed. I don't like the idea of you just fall into a committed relationship and you just assume that you're there. I like to have the discussion, and I usually teach women how to have the discussion before they even get intimate with somebody about the fact that you're in a committed relationship and not just you're just hanging out and, you know, you kind of are what you are and it sort of is what it is. I think men need to be told. So if you have had the discussion that you're in a committed relationship, he should follow on to that, be inviting you to meet his friends and family. If you have not had this discussion and you want to backtrack, now is a good time. If you have issues, is to start that discussion off. And that's something I teach women of how to get into that discussion. And that's something you have to do that in a way that is very feminine. You take the higher end, the higher level. You do it in a feminine, warm, kind of flirty way, so that it doesn't appear too intense, because that is an intense kind of discussion that could, women can always take this things one way or another. A discussion like, do you want marriage and family could be super intense, but it could also be a fun, light way to find out more about him. So you need to get into the discussion first of, what is this relationship? Where are we going? Are we both going in the same direction? Do we want this to be something serious? And if you assume that you both want something, so if you have had the discussion, and the discussion has to go first. If you've had the discussion, yes, we both want something serious, then following from that discussion is, well, then I'd love to be more of a part of your life. And what that means to me is, I'd love to introduce you to my friends and family, and I would love for you to introduce me to your friends and family. And one thing about your language with a man is, I talk a lot about balanced relationships and which role you play, whether you're the feminine role or the more masculine role. Your language with a man should reflect what role you play. So I do a lot of talk about this. This is probably something to take to find out more from me offline. But just a quick thing: if you're female in your role, then your language should be more like I feel, I would love, I would like, things to do with emotion. So when I think or I want, those are strong masculine language triggers. So I would steer away and be something, I would love it if you would introduce me to your life. I would love to get to know your friends. It would make me feel much closer to you if I can be a part of your life. And that's how you phrase it to him. But before you even get to that point, you need to have that commitment discussion of, what is this? Are we in a committed relationship? Because if he thinks you're just dating, he might have a few other women that he's, hanging out with, and that's why he hasn't introduced you, because you're not just the one single woman. If you're in a committed relationship, one of the things that should naturally follow is he wants to introduce you to family or friends, if he has family or friends. And one thing I want you to know is just not everybody has tons of friends, not everybody has tons of family. We're living in this multicultural place. I spend most of my time in London and the other part of my time in New York. Both of those places, there are people who don't have a lot of family around, or who might not have their friends there anymore. He might be new there. So these are discussions that you need to have. You need to find out, I'd love for you to introduce me to that part of your world, and I'd love to introduce you to my part of the world. But before that is, are we in a committed relationship?